You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Good evening and welcome in to the Outspoken Network, the Sportscast edition, episode 192, Free Agent Frenzy edition. My name is Craig. That's Jeff. We're your hosts for this evening. Howdy, Jeff.
Hello.
All right. So tonight we're going to cover all the free agent movings of the NFL over the last week. We got some Major League Baseball injuries and the start of the season coming up, along with what's in our locker right after this. All right, and welcome back. Episode 192, the Free Agent Frenzy edition. Jeff, free agency started this week, and boy, it started with an absolute bang. There wasn't a dull moment over the course of the entire week. It's still going. So we had some real moves that we saw coming and then others that we didn't. It started off with the first domino that hit was the Jimmy G going to the Raiders for 3 years and $67.5 million. It reunites him with the offensive coordinator from back in his New England days in Josh McDaniels. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but what are your thoughts on the Raiders and Jimmy G?
Oh, I find it interesting. It does seem fitting that happened. It does seem like it's the right place. It seems like they both kind of wanted that. I don't think that Josh McDaniels, I don't think that he wanted him released. I think he still kind of, that was the plan, was to keep him there until Brady inevitably retired or left. And so when they couldn't keep him there in New England and they had to ship him off, I think that's kind of stuck with him for a while. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this experiment works for sure.
Yeah, I think him and Belichick both intended, that was the intent, was for Jimmy to supersede Brady, and Kraft had other ideas and went and got some capital out, for Jimmy when he could, struck while the iron was hot. So yeah, it will be. I've always liked Jimmy. He isn't real flashy, but he wins. Like he's not going to put up 500 yards, but somehow he wins every week. And he had a great record in San Francisco. The only drawback was his injury history. He hasn't been extremely durable.
Right. Well, and it wasn't the whole when Tom Brady, there was that 1 year where he got injured at the very beginning of the season. He was out for the rest of the year, I think, pretty much. Was that the year that Jimmy G kind of took off and people got to actually see him, and that's why that's why they were able to trade for that much for him?
Yeah, he came in and he just did like he did in San Francisco. He just won football games somehow. So it's interesting. He likes the system. He's and New England's given him some. They've got some. Um, the Raiders have got big weapons for him to they got Adams and they lose Waller, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's a pretty good football team to come in and play, and I think McDaniels can run his offense. I mean, there's no learning curve. Like, I mean, Jimmy should know it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's just you look at the structure of the contract, and it's a 3-year, $67.5 million deal. So,
Hmm.
pretty. Is that any of that guaranteed, or is it just straight?
The first 2 years are guaranteed.
Okay,
So,
so yeah,
um,
that'll be
uh,
interesting.
yeah, it will be. It'd be interesting to see if he can stay healthy he has to compete with Patrick Mahomes. That's not fun. But other than that, and Russell
Yeah,
Wilson, whereas he had kind of free reign in the West over in San Francisco, he didn't have much competition. He's got plenty now.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, my cat's acting crazy. But because we're moving, we have boxes, so of course the cat wants to
It's like,
climb on
hey,
all the
let's
boxes. It's gonna be crazy. This division, I mean, we'll kind of go into that at some point here in a second, but this division's gonna be kind of interesting to see what's going on. There's been some shakeups going on even in the Chargers
Yep.
territory. So but yeah, especially to start it off, yeah, that was an interesting
Yeah.
pickup
Um,
for Las Vegas. I was almost gonna say Oakland.
yeah. Um, the Bills go and sign Tremaine Edmonds, which is a solid help to their defense. They give him 4 years, $72 million. He came from the Bears and moves over there, and that's a solid pickup for their defense. That should help that second level. Stop the run, and that's a pretty solid linebacker over there in Buffalo now. Um,
Yeah, I mean, are they? It seems like the Bears maybe they have their quarterback. I think at this point.
they made it sound like that. I mean, they trade away the number one pick and get a bunch of capital. It seems like they're going to go with the kid from Ohio State. They're gonna stick with him
Yeah,
and although he didn't throw the ball well, he kind of played a little better at the end of the season. So it looks like maybe they're gonna just stick with him and um,
maybe build the defense.
build around him.
Yeah,
So
especially if they're gonna. It's interesting. I think it's so weird because number one thing is offensive line. It comes to
yeah.
that offense, and
When they
and
get a
then
bunch of picks back
yeah,
in the Carolina trade, so and they may there's rumor that they may make some more moves,
yeah,
so we'll see. They actually won a trade for the first time ever by trading that pick to Carolina. It was a surprising move. There was a video that came out that shows the guy going, I want this and this, and they're like, yeah, okay, here you go. And he spits his water out like, you're really gonna give me all that? All right. Um,
it's interesting. I kind of the Bears are this team that I think that if they do the right if they draft well and they pick the right pieces in free agency, I think that this team isn't far off.
yeah, if Justin Fields can learn to throw the ball and I mean they get a wide receiver. So I mean it's interesting, and if they draft the right pieces, then I agree completely. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the draft with all they got from Carolina, with what that haul they got. Can they use it right and do it? It'll be real interesting. So okay, on to this was an interesting one to me. The 49ers signed Sam Darnold to a 1-year deal, and they get rid of Garoppolo and and let him move into free agency. That was clear that it was that they were going to go with not Garoppolo, but they signed Darnold and they still have Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. The only thing I can think of here is they got news that Purdy's elbow was worse than what initially he had surgery just a couple weeks ago. And so, but they said he's supposed to be ready for camp and everything like that. But this makes no sense to me why you would sign a guy to a deal if he's going to be a third quarterback. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So, are you going to move on from Lance, or are you going to not play Purdy? Like I don't. You gave away so much to get Trey Lance. Now you got Mr. Irrelevant who comes in and saves your season and almost takes you to the Super Bowl if he doesn't get injured in the NFC Championship game. And then you go sign another quarterback after just getting rid of one. Like it didn't make any sense to me.
I think this is Kyle Shanahan's. I think this is just insurance. I think
Yeah.
this is insurance. I
Because
think
he
that
had so many injuries last year, ended up
yeah,
going down to the fifth quarterback and had to let Christian McCaffrey play quarterback in the NFC
yeah.
Championship game.
I mean, it's got to a point where I think they're just the quarterback injury bug has bitten this team, and so
Yeah.
it's him going, well,
I can pay this guy next to nothing, and he can
right.
come in here and
I
he
mean, and
is.
when it comes to Kyle Shanahan, I mean, it looks like to me that he can get quarterback play out of
Yeah,
anybody.
he would be the only one to ever get it out of Darnold, but
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's straight up insurance. It's a 1-year deal. It means nothing.
yeah, and I
Uh,
didn't ever see any money. They just said they signed him to a 1-year deal, so it's
and these
probably
people are cheap.
yeah.
Cheap. I mean, Trey Lance is still on a rookie contract.
Oh yeah,
Brock
they all
Purdy's on a
are.
rookie contract. Like
Yeah,
it's just, you're not paying these people anything. And
no,
and to be in a position like that, a lot of teams would be like, okay,
yeah,
give us one of these three. All right,
yeah.
cool.
The whole quarterback room is on league minimum deal. Um, Cowboys trade a compensatory fifth for Stephon Gilmore, which would have been great about 17 years ago. I don't know what Stephon Gilmore has left in the tank here. Um, what are your thoughts about Stephon Gilmore and what he brings to the secondary of the Dallas Cowboys?
So I don't know a whole lot about this player. I remember hearing about him a little bit, and then when this deal happened, I'm like, "Well, who is this guy?" So I went back and I just kind of looked at a few things. Um, what was it was a straight up trade, right?
Yeah, they
So
gave a compensatory fifth round pick for him. I mean, it's nothing. I mean,
is this just some kind of just to fill in that the secondary and
yeah,
just
I
make sure
mean
there's
they don't
spots there?
basically they lose that right now they're not signing back Antonio Brown and the guys that they put in there at the end of the season. That side of the field was basically a they couldn't cover a fire hydrant in the playoffs. So it gives them a little insurance over there. But Gilmore was a top cornerback at one time, but that was years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
he's long on the tooth. He's 32 years old. He's on the
Ugh.
backside of his career. So I just don't know what he has left um, to provide what they want. I mean, he was very solid. He was a number one back in his day, but I mean that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago when he came into the league. He's bounced around a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be like. I think you could have gotten productivity wise, you could have gotten the same or better in the draft. So it's kind of a safety net, and I don't. I mean, I don't know what he makes. I don't know what the contract, whatever his contract was in New England. Um,
I mean, to give anybody context of this, I mean, you go back and you look at some of the, statistics, 2020 Panthers or Patriots, 2021 Panthers, 2022 Colts. He had 2 interceptions the last few years. He had 1 with the New England. That may have been an injury year. I don't know because even the combined tackles were kind of off.
yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm saying. He productivity wise, he has not brought a lot to the table. I mean, early in his career, he has. The last several years, he's
yeah,
not.
yeah. 2019 at the Patriots was a great year.
Yeah,
6 interceptions, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. It seems like it's kind of been either injuries or
or
just
age has
yeah.
catching. Yeah,
And that's crazy because he played more last year, it seems like, but he just didn't have the numbers.
Yeah. So anyway, they,
Mm.
they give him they give up what basically is a comp five, which could be nothing really.
Yeah.
So you really don't lose anything, but it's a name that if you go by name recognition, it's a name that they've talked about for years. My biggest concern with the Dallas Cowboys is they still keep going on the Bobby Wagner train, and I pray that this does not happen, but it just is still out there, and I mean, Wagner again. We're going for the guys that were solid years ago, but they're not. They're not that now. So,
Well, and
um,
and uh so the interesting part is when it comes to the Bobby Wagner, I mean, it's just getting to a point now where it's just like the years are stacking up.
yes, yes, I
And
agree.
they're just stacking up. This dude hasn't played. It keeps stacking up, and it's just like this is another year that he may or may not play, or he may, and then he will come in and sign some deal mid-season, or whatever. It's just I don't know what's going on with it. It's the same thing with the Odell stuff. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like we were.
Well, I mean, he played with the defensive coordinator, and back with Seattle was the Legion of Boom. Well, that's not the same guy.
Right.
He's just not the same guy, and so they think that he can get the same productivity out of Bobby Wagner that he got 5 years ago. Well, you can't. Um, so
Well, I mean, the thing is when it comes to that, if he was the player that the defensive coordinator, think of his name, dang it, for the Cowboys, uh,
yeah,
Dan Quinn, Dan Quinn.
Quinn. Yeah,
So if Dan Quinn, if this was his guy, they would have gotten him by now.
that's
They would have got
that's
him
my theory.
last year,
That's my theory.
right? I mean, and so it's just like that would have happened so long ago, like last season, mid-season, right
Yeah,
before the playoffs, something like that. But maybe Dan Quinn's just like it's something he doesn't have it. He doesn't.
yeah.
There's something off
And
with
Seattle
with
says
him.
they want him back. I'm hoping that ends up going through and they get him back in his deal. Um, one more thing on the Dallas Cowboys before we move on, and that is the inevitable um, final release of Ezekiel Elliott. His final play as a Dallas Cowboy, he's the center and gets blown up in the San Francisco game on that busted play that ended on the season. And the 7-year career of Ezekiel Elliott as a Dallas Cowboy is over. They designate him a post June 1 cut, saving almost $11 million by doing it. And the staple of Zeke being in Dallas, playing along his best friend Dak Prescott, is now over. What are your thoughts on where Ezekiel Elliott might land and what he has left in the productivity tank? Speaking of productivity,
I can actually see him landing with the Chargers. I can see him landing with the Chargers because they lost their running back.
did he? I know he was trying to get out of there.
I'm pretty sure he's about out of there. If
Because he
not,
didn't get he didn't get an extension. He's still under contract, but he
yeah.
didn't get the Austin Eckler did not get the contract that he wanted. So he
Mm-mm.
basically said, "I want out." And so I know that there's trouble in paradise in the Austin Eckler camp, but I didn't know if he officially got out of there yet.
I think that's I think they'll figure something out because I don't think he's going to stay there. He's
No,
already disrupted stuff,
yeah,
and there's already bad blood there. So I could see him going to the Chargers. That seems like a good fit to me. It's isn't he from California?
well, he played in Ohio State,
Oh, but I mean I don't know if
he
he was
might
from
have
there or
he
not.
might
But
have when he.
but yeah, like it just to me seems like a good fit there. I could see him. He could go to Seattle. Um, I could see something like that. I could see Pete Carroll really wanting him.
Bruising
Uh,
that beast mode, type running back.
yeah, I don't think he has that still.
He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the burst.
I
He
personally think he's a red zone
yes.
in
He's
the
in
red
between the
zone.
tackles. He still catches the ball pretty well. and
Right.
still kind of can run if you give him space.
Right.
But he doesn't have the between the tackles burst. He's not hurdling people like he was in the past. He's not
Yeah.
jumping over things. He runs in people, he runs them over, he gets you 3 or 4 yards, and that's it.
Yeah,
Um,
the interesting part about this is that I think all Cowboy fans at this point have seen the writing on the wall this season.
yes,
They saw Pollard just completely take this over.
yes.
Yeah, he got injured, but he was the running
He
back
was
of
the main
choice.
guy. He was the
And
guy with 1,000 yards. He was, especially towards the end of the season and in the playoffs, you saw we're going to feature Tony Pollard. Um, I think this was a year late, but they kicked the can down the road and kind of put themselves in a spot where financially they couldn't do it last year because they kept that big contract that he held them hostage for years ago was still biting them, and so they finally got out from underneath that and were able to post June 1 it and save about $11 million in doing it. Um,
any place you could think of that needs a running back that you could see him going to?
Uh, it depends on what he wants. Does he want to be the number one guy, or is he willing to be a backup? Because if he's willing to be a backup, I could see him doing something to really stick it to the Dallas Cowboys. Does he try to go somewhere in the East and try to back somebody up and I really don't know off the top of my head. Maybe Carolina. That Carolina lost Deontay Foreman. They really don't have. They lose. McCaffrey in the trade there. They really don't have anybody. Um,
I think it's got to be a place that has a decent O line. Like
yes,
it has
I
to be a
I
place
totally agree.
that can
That
create the
that
holes and the separation and the
yes,
space. I mean,
yes.
for
That
him to
can
cut
get him to
through.
the second level. Not he has to do it himself.
No, he can't go to a place where they're still rebuilding and their
No.
offensive line's atrocious, and
Yeah.
that's impossible. It has to be a place that has just a good O line, a good Kansas City.
Yeah.
You could see that situation. I could actually see him
Boy,
doing very
wouldn't
well on
that
that
be
team.
wouldn't that be
Um,
a deal? In a
yeah,
prime spot to win a championship, he wins one. He goes somewhere and wins one before the Cowboys do.
Uh, that's
Um,
fitting. That's
yeah,
that's happened a few times.
right, yeah. So okay, well the Saints, speaking of running back, signed Jamal Williams uh, from the Lions. He led all running backs with 17 touchdowns. Speaking of a guy
Whew.
who did nothing with a lot of yards. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards, but he wasn't like a featured back or anything like that. But inside the red zone, he found the end zone. Um, I found it interesting though. They said with his stats, he was over 1,000 yards and led the team in touchdowns, which is more than Kamara and Taysom Hill combined. So it's an interesting sign for the New Orleans Saints to now that they don't have they're not going to have the switch out quarterback now when they sign uh la, 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 la.
And he played for the Lions, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He played with the
Okay.
Lions. He
All
was the
right.
Lions. Well, he was the main back. He split time with DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
Um, you know, but the Saints go and sign Derek Carr. Uh,
Yeah.
so that is, they're not going to be doing the Taysom Hill, switch out quarterback thing with Derek Carr.
Right.
Um, and so Carr gets his deal and goes there, and now they have a running back. The Saints could be very. I mean, Mike Williams or not Mike Williams.
Jamal Williams.
No, yeah, but the wide receiver over there.
Oh, oh, oh.
Mike Evans. No, Evans is the deal. Hold on,
Let's
I'll
see.
think of it in a second. Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
Michael
yeah.
Thomas was extremely excited to see Derek Carr there's been tension ever since Sean Payton was there with the Michael Thomas deal. He's been hurt. He doesn't want to play for them, and now all of a sudden he seems to be fully back in and happy about the Derek Carr signing. According to his Twitter account, he's like, "Let's go. We're ready to go right now." So if they can get Michael Thomas back, and then Jamal Williams can have his productivity, that team could be. I mean, that division's terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's true.
no Tom in Tampa. So, Carolina's giving
And
up.
maybe no Rodgers. We'll see.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I just, I have my thing about Derek Carr. I don't know. I
No,
just,
he's been another one of those that's been consistent. I think he.
But
at least,
I like the pickup of the running back.
Yep.
This is a smart pickup. This guy is awesome. Not only is he awesome and in his position off the field, this dude's hilarious. Like he's always, saying stuff about, animes he watches or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this dude
his post-game interview
it's
classic.
Hilarious. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't watch normal television.
Yeah.
So it's just, if anything, he's gonna be fun for the locker room. He's gonna, the morale is gonna be there. This guy is gonna make people laugh.
And he gives Kamara a break, and so he maybe Kamara has a better season because he doesn't have to be the main guy. And
I am just shocked though that the Lions got rid of him. I
too.
didn't sign him back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. After the year you had,
crazy, because the Lions are one of those teams that they seem close.
They went and got David Montgomery from Chicago in replacement, but I don't understand what you're looking for, what you want out of a running back. I mean, the guy gave you everything. He played all the games. He was healthy. He has over 1,000 yards. He has 17 touchdowns. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't know what else you would want. What David Montgomery is going to give you that Jamal Williams wasn't. Like,
again, I think some of it is also the scare of running backs and signing them to a big deal. And
Zeke ruined it for everybody.
Right.
He signed that big deal, and then the productivity went right off the map, and so Zeke ruined it for everybody.
I think when it comes to running backs and contracts negotiations, and that's it. Yeah, I think
you get your 5-year initial deal or 4-year initial deal, and then we move on.
Well, and it's also constant prove it's.
Yep.
Prove it. Okay, 3-year deal, prove it now. And then you do it, and then it's like, okay, we'll give you another 3-year deal, prove it, And so I think that's, when it comes to running backs, I think that's what we're going to start seeing, where it's just going to be like, yay, you're going to have to prove it again. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. So Hayden Hurst signs a 3-year contract with the Carolina Panthers. To me, this is a huge loss for Cincinnati. He was a huge part of that offense to move the chains for
Joe Burrow.
in
this wasn't his guy from college, was it?
No, I mean, the wide receiver, Jamar Chase, is the guy that he played with in college.
Okay, because I was like,
he's the tight end that he's the guy that when Chase isn't open, it kind of the buffer to move the ball. Hayden Hurst was a huge part of the Cincinnati offense.
And this could be Cincinnati just looking at it like, well, Burrow's the reason, and we can find somebody in the draft. And I think when it comes to these quarterbacks, you take a look at the Chiefs, and they had Juju Smith-Schuster, kind of not as good as he once was, won a Super Bowl, right? And I think that you kind of look at some of this and you go, well, could we just find a tight end for cheap in the draft?
Yep.
And then him and Joe Burrow could connect, and here we go.
There are only a handful of the Travis Kelce's and the
Gronks.
Gronk. They don't. That's what Dallas supposedly wants in the draft, because they didn't get that from the 3 that they just let go. And I I don't know if that's a thing anymore. I don't know if they make them like that anymore, where they block and run down the field and are a big pass catcher, and you just don't see that anymore. Where they're the Travis Kelce's and the Gronks and the you know uh Darren Waller's. They're just not.
Witten.
Yeah, Witten. They're just not like that anymore. They're not. They don't
Right.
make them like that. The college offenses don't run with tight ends. They're down the field with the wide receivers. They're running. They just don't see tight ends do that anymore.
And it's I think that it just also depends on who the quarterback is. If the quarterback is that good,
Yep.
that dominant, you could literally throw anyone out there and he could find them in 2 seconds and throw that ball, and there and that trust is there and whatever. It's weird to think, but there's not many quarterbacks can be like that. Peyton was like that.
Yeah.
He could make garbage
Yep.
out of gold out of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it seems like Mahomes can do the same kind of thing.
He did. He did this year.
Juju Smith-Schuster, he made him look like a
Yeah,
an insane
he got
Super
Juju
Bowl.
paid. He got
Yeah.
Juju paid. Juju
Yeah.
goes and moves on and gets a free agent contract because of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So he 100% made that happen this year. We were very concerned with the loss of the old cheetah down there, that Patrick Mahomes would have a rough season, and he did not, sir.
No.
He did everything on one leg in the playoffs.
So yeah, I just I look at this and I kind of am like it sucks, but I think there'll be enough for you guys to pick apart things in the draft and possibly get get one or two tight ends to maybe solidify that hole and then be able to obviously save some money in that. So
Baker Mayfield signs with Tampa. He looks like he is going to be the one that replaces Tom and get another chance to prove his worth in a 1-year deal with Tampa. If you're Mike Evans or the wide receivers over in Tampa, you're like, oh, great. What are your thoughts on the old Baker Mayfield career so far?
This as my cat comes in the picture.
Yeah.
He I don't know. I wasn't really sold on him when he was coming into the NFL.
Nope.
It was a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, I'm the guy. It's kind of reminds me of Johnny Manziel a little.
100%.
It's just so it's just that kind of thing. I'm like, man, I don't know. Just
he came into the Rams last year and has that big game and leads them to the one victory and so it'll be interesting to see that, because now there's no excuses. You have all the weapons.
I think this is his last
hurrah.
And the next step after this is the XFL.
100%. Because if you can't succeed with the wide receivers and the weapons you have in Tampa, you may never. You can't say you don't have weapons now. You went to Cleveland and you had weapons. You didn't like the offense. I kind of gave him a little bit of a break because he had 100 new coordinators. They were switching out head coaches and coordinators every year, and to me, that's hard for a quarterback to survive when you're changing the system on him every year. So I kind of gave him a little bit of a break in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams
the Rams like imploded last year. I don't know what the heck was going on.
They kind of quit on McVay, which is a surprise that he's back. And now they're wanting to trade
quarterback
Stafford. They ask him to come back, and then now they want to trade him. So I'm very confused as to what's going on there.
But I mean, this is it for Baker Mayfield.
This is it. It's a 1-year prove it deal, and if he doesn't prove it, the XFL or whatever other expansion football league we're coming up with next.
They'd pay him. They'd pay him in 2 seconds.
Oh, they pay him tomorrow. Alan Lazard signs a 4-year, $44 million contract with the Jets. And as soon as you see this, you think, well, that's makes sense because that's where Aaron's going. And it's funny because Aaron has basically come out and said, I want this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Well, that's the same guys he had in Green Bay, and he said they didn't ever give him any weapons. So I'm very confused as to what deal. But Alan Lazard goes and signs gets an 11 million, basically 11 million a year to go play in the Jets, and maybe they get Aaron, maybe they don't. It just the Jets are a spectacle right now.
I will say that I think the Jets are a talented team. They have
They
a good
are.
defense.
They're a quarterback away.
They have a great
Defense.
I
Great.
mean,
And they had the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year on the same team last year.
right.
They got it off. They got that rookie wide receiver who came in and tore the league up. They got Sauce Gardner, who's locked down on
That
the
dude's
defense.
insane.
Yeah. And so if you get a wide receiver and you trade for Rodgers, you absolutely could give that division a run for its money.
Yeah, it
Talk about
Man.
another stacked division. You got the West we thought was stacked. I mean, you got Buffalo, who's got Allen. You've got Miami, who's got Tua. And now you've got the Jets, who have Aaron Rodgers. And then New England.
It's interesting because I mean that same. Well, I'll get into that, but it's interesting because the tides had turned back. Let me just say that much. But
Yeah.
But yeah, in regards to this, I don't know what's going on with if Rodgers is saying he wants this guy or not, then he's saying he doesn't, and Schefter is, or is it Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter? I think it was Adam Schefter that he was putting on blast, basically.
Oh yeah, Schefter tried to text him and he said, "Lose my number."
I'm like, he basically reported what had kind of been thought about and had been said before. And he's like, that's not what because I guess he didn't go on Pat McAfee and actually say that.
Yes, exactly, 100%. That's the person he talks to. Like that's his microphone is Pat McAfee for whatever reason. So if he doesn't tell McAfee, he didn't say it. Well, yeah, you did.
It's not surprising. He did it. He ruled the roost in Green Bay. He's gonna rule the roost here if and when he comes to the Jets. It's pretty obvious.
He the woe is me. They don't want me in Green Bay. I bled green and yellow for all these years. Blah blah blah. Well, you have held this team hostage, and you're the reason that they can't sign anybody because you need $9 billion, and they can't pay you. They can't afford to pay you, so they're going to get rid of you because they can't afford the contract that you just had to have, and so. And Green Bay is again between the rock and the hard place because they have 1 year left to decide whether Jordan Love is the guy or whether they need to replace him because they're not going to they're not going to pick up a 5th-year option if they never watch him play. The kid played one football game and it was in Kansas City, so it wasn't really a good test.
No.
Because you're playing against one of the best defenses in football, and then in the snow, he's like, well, this isn't a good idea. So, the Green Bay Packers have to make this move and have to get rid of him. So I understand where they want King's ransom. They want 2 first-round picks. You're going to have to come off that. If I'm the Jets, they go, here's my offer. I'm not coming off of it. When you're ready to trade him, come talk to me. And that's it.
I told Brian, I was like, I think they're gonna want Sauce Gardner. He's like, I'd take that deal in 5 seconds. I'm like
all day, but they're
not. Yeah, I'm like
no
that's like a no. It's like taking Patrick Surtain from the Broncos. It's not gonna happen. I mean,
that would be like calling Kansas City and going, "Hey, I'll give you this, but I want Mahomes." No.
Or Kelsey.
No.
So I don't know. This has been a crazy thing, but I think when it comes to the Jets, like Yeah, they're so close, but this thing is dragging out, and it's just getting to a point where I'm like, just hurry up and come up with the deal. Like, just come up with your deal. Let's get this out of the way. And this guy who signed could have he could end up being in great. I mean, I don't know. He could end up going being part of a
Yeah.
trade. So, um, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets, but obviously the deal will get done. It's just a matter of exactly what compensation is going to be a part of it.
Yep. And that's all they're trying to work out now. They had to figure out whether Rodgers did his darkness retreat, decided whether he wants to play football, and I guess he does. He wants to. He says he's planning on playing for the Jets. Um, we talked about it a little bit earlier. The Lions signed David Montgomery, and like I said, I guess that's a good pickup. But in my opinion, signing Jamal Williams would have been a better pickup than going and getting this guy.
That still boggles. I mean, that was a sleeper team that I was thinking of next year. This coming up season was the Lions. I was like, man, if the
Yeah. Oh,
Lions.
they had the backs part of the season. They played great. They almost make the playoffs. Outside of they beat Green Bay on the final night to cost them their spot, and Seattle wins on a tiebreaker because they beat them in a shootout. But Detroit played much better in the second half of the season. They were one or two wins, after 10 games and finished with over 500. So absolutely played much better the second half, and I think they will be, other than maybe Minnesota, they will be the team to beat in that division for the next few years. So
Yeah,
yeah, I was surprised to
yeah,
see
that's
that
just.
Jamal Williams moved on.
And if I
Um,
was a Lions fan, I'd be like, what the heck is going on with this? Like, you couldn't have
yeah,
signed him to a 3-year deal.
right, 3 for 18.
I
I
mean,
mean, come
come
on
on
now.
now, that's crazy.
The Giants trade the number 100 pick. It's a third round pick for Darren Waller. That is a huge get for them. Waller is a very good um, wide receiver slash tight end, whatever he plays over there. But he's a very good weapon that they didn't. A third round is really nothing. Um, and the Giants have made a bunch of moves this offseason. They extend Daniel Jones for $40 million a year. That to me was mind blowing in itself, but I guess it's the position, not the name that you're signing.
Right.
The quarterback market is through the roof. They franchise tag the running back, which again, like we talked about, running backs are going to get screwed because of Ezekiel Elliott. The long term extensions just don't come. So he'll get tagged a couple times and then move on about his career, and they'll go draft somebody else. But this is a big move for the Giants, and makes them, I mean, they made the playoffs last year, and it's a very interesting sign for the Giants to trade for him for next. I mean, you gave up really literally nothing to get him, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. They moved on from the other wide receiver they got from Detroit. That never panned out to be a good fit down there.
Yeah, this is a to me, this coming season, the Giants have to be in the playoffs, or this will never go anywhere. Like this Mac Jones, Saquon Barkley. If you can't get it done this season, I don't even know if you're ever going to get it done because something's
No, yeah,
off.
no,
I
right,
mean, you've got pieces now. You've got these
yep.
pieces. You could add more, but this is the moment now. I
Absolutely.
mean,
You made the playoffs last year. Now you won a playoff game. Now you've got to build on it.
right.
You know.
And they have to start beating
So
division foes. I
yes,
mean, like,
yes.
that's the only way you're going to
Yeah,
do it.
their divisional record over the past several years. I don't know when the last time they beat the Cowboys was. It's been a long time.
Right.
So, um, the 49ers get probably the best defensive lineman that was available. Javon Hargrave from the Philadelphia Eagles, 4 years, $84 million, and they upgrade what was already an absolutely amazing offensive line or defensive line, and the rich just get richer when it comes to this. How these guys are pulling this off. it is beyond me. Um, you know, the GM up in San Francisco has just become, I mean, a legend. Um, it of what he's done up there. Um, John Lynch has been, I mean, just built an absolute powerhouse up there. I mean, he gets draft picks, he gets quarterbacks. They're turning this thing into everything. And the 49ers I mean defensively are going to be very tough to deal with
I
this.
think what makes this team not only are they a scary team, because wouldn't want my team facing this team in the playoffs. I wouldn't. As soon as, and it's just been like the last couple years, it was just like
Yeah.
this team. I don't know. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because they draft well. Like they
Yes, they do.
draft extremely well.
That's what I'm saying. Lynch, ever since he's become the GM, he hits on every draft pick. He somehow
Yeah.
waves the magic wand of free agency. He has built an absolute powerhouse.
And
up
it's
there.
crazy because these two were supposed to be in Denver.
Yep.
And I'm like, dang. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because John Lynch would have stayed. He would have wherever Kyle Shanahan was going is where he would have headed. So I'm like, man, they built a great. They're very good at what they do. So
They're very good at what they do.
But luckily they're in the NFC, so I don't have to worry about them too much.
Right. Not unless you get to the Super Bowl.
Oh my god!
In a surprise move, Mike Gesicki signs a 1-year deal to go to the Patriots. So the Patriots get
This was really recent too. This one was like
today.
today. Yeah. Okay.
Today. But I mean, that's a huge loss. Again, another tight end for a loss. Miami, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's a $9 million with incentives, but I mean, I believe the Patriots got Juju too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is a nothing deal. How the heck can Miami just let someone go like that for 1
just
year?
let him walk away.
1
Yeah,
year, $9 million with incentives.
That the 9 is with if he hits all his bonuses. It's really only like 6.5.
I don't know. I think the owners of the Dolphins are just like I think they're just ready to implode the whole thing. I don't know what they're doing. There's just all kinds of craziness, weird stuff going on there. I don't know. That's just crazy to me. God.
So the Patriots have signed Juju Smith-Schuster, James Robertson, Mike Gesicki. I mean, Riley Reef, another offensive tackle.
Well, we'll know really quickly if this quarterback they have is the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll know real quick because if this dude cannot do anything with these guys, then
if Mac Jones, if the old Snacks Jones over there doesn't win some football games with that offense, he's never going to.
No.
So it's interesting.
God, that's crazy.
That's about it in the NFL.
We talked about Rodgers stuff.
Yep, talked about Rodgers stuff.
And that's still ongoing, by the way. So we still don't even know what the heck's going on.
Know when that's going to ever
this will be the last thing before training camp. Or the draft, probably.
Hostage negotiation day 643. I have been reading, and you're the expert on this.
Okay.
The Denver Broncos seem to want to trade every wide receiver they have. They're offering up everybody. They want a first for Jerry Jeudy.
Of course.
I don't know what they want for the other guy. But what are you hearing around the water cooler in Denver and Colorado about wanting to dismantle all the wide receivers? Do they just not like them? Do they don't want to pay them? Like, what's the deal?
I think the idea is so there's a number of reasons. I think I have a feeling that they're looking at it from a capital perspective. Like how much draft capital do we want? How much? And George Payton, the general manager, huge in the draft. So a lot of people are like, well, why they just give up picks? I guarantee you they had it. It took probably everyone in that ownership group to pry those picks from George Payton's hands. Like he loves his draft picks. I mean, if anyone had followed him in Minnesota, I mean, that's he's notorious for just racking
Just
them up,
hoarding
and
draft picks.
yeah. And then as soon as the draft starts, it's like bam, 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 a trade up, trade down. Like, he's just notorious for that. So, and he drafts pretty well. I mean, he's gotten some really good picks, pickups and stuff and over the years. And so I think that it was mostly them trying to see what they could get for them. There's been now things have come back and they've already said, no, Sutton is here to stay. Judy is here to stay. I think it was basically trying to feel
If
for the market.
somebody would just take
If
the
somebody,
bait and
yeah,
go, yeah, we'll give it to you. And they go, oh, all right,
right,
we'll take it.
right. I don't think that and then I think Sean Payton probably had a say so about this too, obviously.
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's
he
what
looked at it.
that was my next question. Was this something that Peyton came in and goes, I don't like the way these guys play, or I don't like these guys' attitudes, or was it something that a
If
different direction
it's
that Peyton wanted to go?
it was probably both. I think it was probably Sean Payton and George Payton, the Paytons. And so I think it was both kind of, you have George Payton who's like, hey, what kind of, I mean, could we get our draft picks back from
Yeah.
the Russell deal? Could we get all these other, and then you have Sean Payton who's like, well, I mean, I'd like to be able to pick my own wide receivers,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a mix, but I think deep down, Jerry Judy's an amazing wide receiver. He had a very good year this last year, even though he got hurt a couple of times.
Cortland Sutton's a
Cortland
solid.
Sutton has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I just think if we go into,
I don't think you're going to get anything better than either one of those in the draft.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And I think and nobody really wants to. I mean, even some of the local media people or whatever, it's just kind of like, there's no weight to this. There's no way that they would just dismantle a wide receiving group that have been there. They played with Russell Wilson. They've been a part of this organization.
Know the offense.
Know the offense.
Yeah.
They are willing to learn anything from Sean Payton. I just think that maybe it was a mixture of Sean Payton going, well, I'd like to try to see if we could get some wide receivers that I like that would fit my
and the GM
scheme.
going, oh, well, I can get my draft picks back. All right, I'll try to help you out with that, Sean.
Yeah. So I think there's nothing to this really. I think it's kind of even been dialed back a bit now. I think the organizations, the ownership groups, even come out and said no. This was just like a typical, hey, feel for the market. What do you think? What do you got? What do people want for this player? It's kind of like what happened similar to the Jay Cutler thing, where it was like, I think people have called in or they have said, hey, if we'd ever decided to get rid of this guy, what would you be willing to give up? Or what would you be willing to give us in compensation? And Jay Cutler took that and heard the rumors and just cried about it so bad that they basically traded a thing. And I think this was the same kind of thing. I think it was just, it's nothing. It's just them saying that. But we'll see when the season starts. If all of a sudden the season starts and Judy's having a problem with the system and blah, 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 I could see the Broncos trading Judy more than Sutton. I think Sutton fits Sean Payton's style scheme,
yeah.
And Jerry Judy may not, but we'll see. I think Jerry Judy's, the one thing about him is he is an amazing route runner, dude. He is, I mean, you give him a route, he'll do it and he'll run it. And Sutton is this tank. So it's just it's weird because they're both really good. But Sean Payton said something really interesting. He did say that there is going to be something that's similar to a run. He wants to be, and we can go into it if we now that we're talking about the Broncos a little bit. in terms of their free agency and all this kind of stuff, you can kind of see where this team is headed under Sean Payton. You can see where this
Hmm.
team's headed offensively. Um, and defensively, they've gotten rid of a few pieces, but they've gotten a couple pieces back. But I think they're going to rebuild this team through free agency because they do not have the picks to build this team through the draft, which is fine
Yeah.
by me. And some of the offensive line is going to be a completely different offensive line than we had this last season, where it was just horrible injuries left and right, ACL tears, third string, uh, you know, out there not knowing what's going on. I think we were sacked 63 times total. We had 63 sacks total. That's how much the offensive line has given up.
Yeah. Like a
Oh,
turnstile. Just come
just
on
yeah,
in.
it was just dead
Yeah.
last in the league.
Yeah.
So now they've picked up quite a bit of really top tier offensive linemen. I think it was Ben Powers. They got him. They got right tackle from San Francisco. I think it was Mike I don't know, his last name is McGlinky, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
So they picked up quite a
Mike
yeah. So
McGlinky.
they picked up some awesome offensive line talent. You can see where it's going. This is going to be a run team. Set it up with a pass for Russell Wilson. He said it initially. Sean Payton said it. I want to say maybe a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago, that was a similar system they were going to try to run because
Very high play
right,
action
right,
type deal.
and again,
It's the system he ran in New Orleans.
third downs are going to be very emphasized on this offense. Broncos last year almost dead last on third
Yeah,
down.
worst in the league. Worst in the league.
So, and if you go back and you look, and I think I found out that Sean Payton's offenses typically third downs, they're excellent. And go back and look at even the Chiefs this last season, almost first or second in the league on third downs conversions. The offensive line is extremely important. I said that last week or the week before when I was on here with Brian. They're going to build the offensive line. Defense is going to be solid. You're going to have to fill in a couple more holes here because I have a feeling people are going to leave, and they did. Ronald Darby is gone, and so is Draymond Jones. He's gone. They kind of tagged him a number of years, and kept messing with his contract here and there, and they weren't really signing him. And I had a feeling they were not going to sign Draymond Jones back, which I really wanted him back because he's great. But I just think that they're going to fix these pieces, and so far, I have no complaints. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Offensive line fix. Couple pieces on defense, especially the front. The when it comes to like pass rush and stuff like that, that's something I think that needs to be just slightly addressed. Other than that, there's just the defense was great. I don't think there's much else to do there.
No, yeah.
They got a guy just recently today. I think they picked up a special teams dude from Kansas City, highly talented. They picked up a backup quarterback. Kind of people looking into that a little too much. I think that I forgot where he was at. I think he was from Oakland, or not Oakland, San Francisco, or not San Francisco, Las Vegas. And yeah, people read into it. It's just they're like, "Oh, is this because Sean Payton doesn't trust Russell Wilson?" I'm like, "No, he's backup. Like this is just insurance." It was a small deal anyway. It wasn't much anything. So, and what I noticed about this also, a lot of guaranteed money. A lot, and I knew that. I was like, we have so much money as a team. We've run circles pretty much around every team in the NFL when it comes to actual what this team can spend.
Salary cap availability.
Well, and plus just guaranteed money that doesn't go against the cap. Like they could literally just go, what kind of guaranteed money do you need? I mean, it's a $70 billion that's how much the Broncos are worth now. So in
Yeah.
terms of the organization and the ownership, that's how much they can spend. It's just crazy to me. So I'm like, this is going to be interesting because not only do the Broncos have the ability to draft pretty well with George Payton and I think Sean Payton, but they also have the money to just go out and get who they feel like. So it's just this is it, and this is going to be a make or break for Russell Wilson. I do think he'll have a bounce back year with this offensive
It
line.
can't get a whole lot worse.
No, it can't. But I just think that there was a number of issues going on. Offensive line from day one, from preseason game one, we had injuries on offensive line.
New head coach that was completely over his head in running an organization.
And they also picked up they fired the strength and conditioning coach. Thank God. Because obviously it wasn't working. There's too many injuries.
He was not conditioning very well.
So they hired a new one, which is actually, I think, highly touted as a really good one. So that's great. That was
probably knows Sean Payton at somewhere.
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
If you trace back his career, he's probably been on Payton's staff before.
So I think they drafted. So far, I think that free agent wise, they've done the moves that I kind of think that the fans have expected them to do, and the ones that they think that they needed to. They're not flashy. They're not, oh man, it's Odell, or they're not those moves, but they're the right moves. They're the right players in the right positions, and it's going to ultimately help the team. And so I think, and it's going to set that offense up. That's the thing. It's going to give Russell Wilson to the ability to run out of that pocket and throw on the run. It's going to give the ability for Devontae Williams to bust through that line and go. And yet he's still, and that's another thing. He didn't, nobody saw him a whole lot last year because he got hurt and he was out for most of the whole year. And Sean Payton has said already that he is on track to start game one. So I'm like, okay, so this is going to be crazy because he's going to have a great running back, an offensive line that can actually do something. And then they got a tight end also from, where is he? I think it was from Jacksonville, Chris Manhertz or something from Jacksonville. And I've heard that he is not only a great tight end, but he's a great blocking tight end.
Yeah.
Kind of important.
Something you don't see.
Kind of important. So you can,
especially if you're going to develop the run game.
Especially you're going to develop run game. You're going to do some great plays where you're running out of the pocket, trying to throw on the run. You're going to need that ability for that player to and I've looked at some video and he's excellent at blocking. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like this, you can see it. You can see the chips lining up. So, do you have anything on Cowboys? Like what your thoughts are?
They restructure Tyron Smith and give him another deal. I don't have really a here or there on that. There's been talk about the tight end. They need another wide receiver. Where that's going to come from, the DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors keep coming.
I hear that.
Of course, the Odell Beckham. But the Cowboys were the only team, or one. There was 13 teams at the Odell Beckham workout, and the Dallas Cowboys weren't one of them. So I'm confused on that, on how Jerry talks to him all the time, and has basically talked to him about being a Cowboy and everything like that. And then there's 13 teams. All these teams are at the workout, and Dallas isn't one of them. So I really don't know what they've made. Almost $50 million with all these moves, with doing Dak Prescott and all these restructuring. They restructured Tank Lawrence. They restructure the offensive lineman. They've got almost $50 million. So what are they going to do with it? I hope the answer is not Bobby Wagner. I hope it's a wide receiver or another lockdown defensive back or safety. in the draft, they are talking highly around here of a tight end that is like your Travis Kelce's and something like that, a route runner, something that can stretch the middle of the field and help give Dak another weapon. And then old Bijan Robinson from Texas has been a huge deal. But to me, you just made that mistake. You just went and drafted a first round running back and paid him a bunch of money, and it would be basically like starting the Zeke Elliott saga all over again. And as much as I mean, Bijan Robinson is 100% the number one running back in the draft. I don't know where he goes. I don't know how high he goes. He should be there when Dallas picks at 24. But I mean,
What about in terms of
pass
tight
catcher.
ends? Do you think there's a tight end in the draft that can actually do something?
I'm gonna have to go back and look again and look at the tight ends
Yeah.
and see who the number one is and if he qualifies for what they want, because a lot of tight ends that are coming out of college are your run blockers. You
Yeah.
know,
That's true.
they don't have guys that stretch the field. If they're gonna stretch the field, they do it with a wide receiver or they do it with a running back, or they do it different ways. You just don't see tight ends in college that
Or like multifaceted
are
kind of.
that are run down the field like that. It yeah. So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah,
Um
because I mean the market it's starting. I mean, the pieces are people are getting deals left and right. I mean,
free agency started fast, and it's the big names are basically gone. Odell Beckham is whether or not they're going to trade Hopkins. I mean, but basically it's over. The free agent market is over. It's just whether or not you're going to get some trades.
yeah, and maybe I think that in terms of figuring out other pieces, it could be that the Cowboys are could also be just hoarding some draft capital uh through some trades possibly. That's kind of what I'm thinking is it's possible that they could get some, maybe they could move down in the draft a little bit, get some more picks. But we'll see, because yeah, like the Andre Hopkins, I've heard that so many times,
Yeah,
so many
it was at
times,
the end of last year. It yeah,
and he probably wants out of there.
he
I'd
does.
want out of there.
The
That seems
Kyler
like a
Murray experience.
disaster.
that that is a dumpster fire over there. That offense is a mess. Um, yeah, Kyler Kyler doesn't want to be there. They gave him a bunch of money. He's over there playing Call of Duty. Like that is a dumpster fire. They couldn't even find a head coach. They offered it to like
Uh,
everybody and their brother, and they were like, I guess we'll give this guy from Philadelphia.
yeah. And it made
Like,
me laugh because at one point they were like, "Oh, Sean Payton's going there." I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh
no,
no, he's not."
it's not.
Yeah, he really wants to coach that.
Sean looked at the phone. He's like, Arizona voicemail.
Yeah,
He's like,
I'm like, he
no,
is not going to want to coach that guy.
decline. Yeah. So absolutely. He wants out of.
I could see them.
I think
I
that
could
would
see
be
the
a
Cowboys doing
great.
something.
I mean, could you imagine Hopkins and Lamb together? Oh, and
Yeah,
they restructured Gallup to help take some of that money off because God, he was horrible last year. I'm hoping that was just a mental. My ACL doesn't feel like I'm just not. Every time I cut, I get paranoid. I'm hoping that fixes itself.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's actually good to hear. Well, again, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, but it's good to hear that Dak is actually saying this is like make or break.
yes,
That's good, because it
yeah,
is a make or break. Like he is right
it
there.
is.
That
It
window
is.
is closing,
Oh yeah,
and it's time to do it. Because
yeah.
if you don't do it, if you're not doing it now, if you don't do it in the next few years, I just don't.
No,
It's
yeah,
it's just gonna.
it's and it's good to see Dallas actually. There was a meme that came out in the opening of free agency. The Dallas Cowboys signed nobody, because the last few years in free
That's
agency,
true.
they've been non-existent. They haven't had
Yeah.
the money because they've been spending it all on Dak and Zeke and Tank Lawrence and all these guys to keep their own guys, and um it it
It comes across like they're okay with
Yes,
where
with
they
what they
are.
have, and that that that
Right.
that that,
Make
that,
the
that
playoffs,
yeah,
hope for the best,
yeah.
you
Well, as
know, and
long
it's
as we
just
make the tournament, gives ourselves a shot. Well, we won a game. We made a playoff
yeah,
win. That's all we need to do. No,
right.
you need to have some more success somewhere along the line at some point. McCarthy, they basically given him, here's the keys. You're calling the plays. We got rid of all these guys. We changed the coaching staff up. What do you want, Mike? And they've given it to him. So if it doesn't work now, Mike McCarthy will be out, and probably Dan Quinn will be your next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Um, that's kind of the groundwork by getting
Well,
rid of Kellen
I
Moore.
think the writing is on the wall on that. Dan Quinn didn't sign anywhere. He had interviews, obviously, but he didn't sign anywhere. He stayed in Dallas, and I think that was the idea. I think
Yes,
Jerry was like, "Hey,
yes.
look,
Like, I'll give you
I
some
know
more
you.
money.
Right, right. Just stay
I'll
here for a little
just
bit.
stay
Stay for
here.
one more year,
Give
and if
me
something doesn't happen this
if
year,
if Mike doesn't blow our socks off, the keys are yours. I
right."
100% think that was the deal. That
And
was
I
an
think that's
under the
why he stayed
That's
because I think he
100%
was
why,
getting
because
offers that were more.
he was the Denver lead guy, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden they were like, well, he called us and said he wasn't interested
And
anymore.
I even when they were talking about him, I still didn't want him because I looked at it and I said, "Look, we had Vic Fangio. Like he was great. He designed an amazing defense, but he could not figure out how to fix the offense. There was not he had people in there that I don't think were very good. Like it was just at one point he said, "Hey, I'm not really familiar with coaching on the sidelines. Can I coach in the booth?" And I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, "What is this?" So he was a great defensive coach, but when you're in this league, it's all offense, and it's just like I looked at that. Even when Dan Quinn was rumored to be coming to Denver, I was like, I don't. I've seen this already. Like, I want to see something different, and so it's just like I've already seen this. We had Vic Fangio. We had uh Vance Joseph, even though he's back as the coordinator.
Yeah.
Fine. Coordinator,
Yeah,
fine.
and
Coach, head coach, no.
and
Like,
that is, there are some guys that are like that. Some guys that are great coordinators that give them one thing to focus on, they're great.
right.
Give them the whole ball of wax, not so good.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
think Vic Fangio was like that. I think he was a great coordinator.
Nathaniel Hackett, prime example.
Yeah. Yeah. And he may do well. Honestly,
He might,
he's in the and it's so weird. It's so weird because whenever they went and I want to not believe that this is the reason why they got Nathaniel Hackett, but I mean it's starting to kind of paint that picture where, oh, we were gonna get Hackett and we were gonna get Rodgers if we got Hackett. Oh, okay. Now the Jets are gonna get Hackett. Well, here's Rodgers, and I just
yeah.
in my mind, I'm going, I really hope we didn't just hire Nathaniel Hackett because we hoped that Aaron
Because he
Rodgers,
promised us in the interview that he could bring Aaron with him.
yeah,
I'm telling you, that's what you heard. That's exactly what you heard when you signed him. Was it's a package deal. He comes with Aaron Rodgers, and then it never materialized.
that's so stupid. And honestly, I don't know. That kind of is the one thing where I'm
That's
like,
a good interview ploy. If you're Hackett,
yeah, it is. And again, he probably did say that. And
100%. Why would you? I can bring
right,
Aaron Rodgers. He'll
yeah.
come with. I got him right here on. I got him on the phone.
I think he fooled George
Oh,
Payton,
April
which
Fools.
which is
Yeah,
like, come on,
yeah.
man. Like, and so yeah,
And now
that
the
was
Jets are
just
like.
bad.
Now the Jets are like. Wait a minute. He Denver. Oh, I hope we didn't get bamboozled too.
I think, well, he's the coordinator,
Yeah.
which is smart. I don't think he'll ever be a head coach, and
Not
it may be
after.
many years.
Not after his. Not after his one
No,
year. No.
no.
Not after that. He didn't even. It's the only guy that I've known to get hired and not make one season. Like they didn't even. They didn't even let him finish. They were like, "Nah,
Well,
bro,
and the thing
can't do
is,
it."
and I told Brian this, I said, look, this ownership group didn't hire him.
No.
They didn't hire him. He was hired on before the ownership was finalized. George Payton was hired on before the ownership was finalized. They made the Russell deal before this ownership was finalized. So this ownership, this is their first free agency. This is their first, they hired Sean Payton. Like they went in and they looked at their guy. They grabbed their guy. I think they like George Payton, but I think that there were a few moves that they were like, "Hey, we don't know about that," And I think that I think overall he'll still be here, George Payton. But I just think that this whole craziness with Hackett and stuff, they didn't hesitate because they were just looking at like, we don't care.
No.
We didn't pick this guy. He's not our guy.
They left him on the tarmac and said, "Find a way home."
And they gave him benefit of the doubt. Like
They
there were multiple conversations with some of the ownership members, and especially I can't remember. It's Penner, one of the Penners. He was just like, hey, we back him. Whatever he needs, we try to figure it out. Like, we understand that this is a process. This is a transition for Russell Wilson. This is a transition for him. He's never been a head coach. But after a while of constantly saying it over and over, and then
they realize this train ain't leaving the station.
This isn't getting any better.
No, yeah.
And the one thing I told Brian, I said, look, here's the funny part. The last 2 games were coached by an incumbent coach that was never a head coach. We won the last 2 games.
But it looked like a completely different football.
Exactly. The offensive line got healthier. Russ looked like Russ.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense the play was obviously they've been playing good all year, but like all that. And I'm like, you see, something was
something. Hackett was suppressing the system or something.
Because according to Hackett, he was like, "Oh, I'm not calling the plays anymore. There's an offensive coordinator doing the plays," and I'm like,
"You know what that was? He was trying to save his job. That's all that was." Yeah. Oh, you knew that handwriting.
And I didn't believe that 1 minute. I'm like, dude, you're still calling the plays. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
I know this offense. I saw it last week. It's the same deal.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I believe that is it for the NFL. Couple little MLB deals. Trevor Bauer signs a 1-year deal in a Japanese league. After being reinstated, his suspension is revoked. The Dodgers let him go. I can't really understand that there's nobody in the major league that wanted to take a flyer and sign Bauer. Because you could sign him for a little bit of money because the Dodgers are still on the hook for all that money. I mean, MLB contracts are fully guaranteed, so the Dodgers are on the hook for all that money. You could have signed him to very little money and gotten a guy that was a Cy Young Award winner a couple years ago.
I look at it this way. When does the Japanese season start? Is it the same?
It pretty runs consistent with the MLB season.
So here's what I think.
Just a tune up for a playoff run?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why would a team go, hey, we're going to give you money, but we don't know how well you'll be. You've been out of the league for a while. Like, if
let him throw up in Japanese and work on his craft, and then come
middle of the season, like all of a sudden I could see him squeezing right back into the MLB.
Releases him from his contract or a buyout, some loophole buyout. Makes sense.
I can see that happening. Yeah. And especially a really, really a team that's like, God, we're so close.
We're we're one arm away, or has a freak injury down the stretch.
I could see Houston pulling that crap.
Oh yeah.
To be honest,
that would talk about the non-morality, not having the morality to worry about what
they don't care.
They don't care. Yeah, geez. Cheating. Yeah, come on in. So yeah, that's a good point. I never really did think about it that way. And then in a surprising move, the Mets lose their closer Edwin Diaz for the entire year. Did you see this?
Oh man, this is so bad.
Only the Mets can lose their Timmy Trumpet closer on a celebration in the World Baseball Classic because we advanced to the quarterfinals. Homie's jumping around the field and blows his whole knee, just explodes on the field, and they have to carry him off. and they do an MRI, and they're like, "Oh, that's not good. That whole thing is blown up." And he's going to miss the entire season. The Mets go spend billions of dollars in the offseason and lose one of the security
Important,
of
yeah.
the
Oh my
whole back
god.
end of your bullpen, who had 40 plus saves last year. He's gone for the year in a World Baseball Classic celebration.
And what the good part is, at least for the Mets, they do have an insurance on this. I think is what I heard, that they actually won't be on the hook for the contract. I think that's
I'm not
what
worried
I
about the
read.
contract. I'm worried about what are you going to do to close
Well,
baseball games now
they're gonna have to figure that out.
when the season starts in 12 days. You know,
Well, they have time. They have time. I think that if obviously worst case scenarios, they have to trade. God, you know. But I don't know. Maybe there's somebody already in the bullpen that
and
can
I'm sure
squeeze
there
into that
is, but I
role. I
mean,
don't know.
but not
Not gonna be like him,
45.
but it's
Yeah, no.
but I mean something comparable, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
I guess it just only things like this happen to the teams like that. Where just while I love watching the World Baseball Classic, this is what you're afraid of when you let your
Right.
guys go and play. Whether and it's not the celebratory injury, but just I mean Freddie Freeman. It sounds like it's going to be that the Dodgers dodged a bullet here, but Freeman playing for Canada pulls a hamstring, and doesn't play the quarterfinal game, and Canada gets beat in the last game of pool play by Mexico, and but you just get worried that these guys are because in spring training you can slowly ramp them up. Well, when you're
Right.
playing meaningful baseball, now it's you got to go. And so in
Right.
spring training, you might not go 100% to run to second, to try to leg out a double, or you might not try to turn what should be a little double into a triple because you're not playing games that mean anything. When you're playing for your
Yeah.
country, you guys want to go all out and make plays and make deal, and these injuries happen, and it's I mean, thank God that nothing's happened to anybody from the Giants. Their starter that was gonna go, that Webb decided to pull out last minute, and I was fine with that. I was just like, yeah,
Mike
that's
Trout's in there.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean,
Shawnee's in there.
Trout, Otani,
Matani.
uh, you know, uh, you got guys that are big names, and it's not just for Team USA. You got guys all
Yeah.
over Puerto Rico, the Dominican, Cuba. You got Javi Baez is out there doing swim moves and avoiding tags, and these guys are playing. They
Hard.
play for their country. I mean, it's a whole nother ball game when you play for your country like that.
I
That
mean,
is a
why don't they just why don't they just say, look, if you're in Major League Baseball, you're already, I mean, you're actually on the roster. Not like, hey, we called you up and we sent you back.
yeah.
You're actually on the roster. You shouldn't be in it. I
I
think it should
agree.
be
Should be like
double A,
collegiate or
triple
triple A.
A, future stars.
Yes.
This should, because guess
Or
what? It
if
also
you're gonna do it,
showcases the future talent
yes.
so that you could go, man, that guy was really crazy good. And it's okay. I mean, if they get, you don't want them to get hurt, but if they do, it's kind of like, okay, it doesn't necessarily affect the season because they weren't really going to be in maybe most in the season anyway. They still
I
had time.
totally agree. Or if you are just 100% set on having the big league roster guys, have it in the off season. Have it as soon as the World
Yes.
Series ends. Have the World Baseball Classic to where if
Right.
one of these guys gets hurt, then they have the whole off season to recover and deal. And you're not losing. You're not handcuffing teams to lose superstars. Because if I'm a GM and they come to me and go, hey, we want your guy to play in the World Baseball Classic. My answer is no. My answer is I'm sorry. I'm not giving up Mike Trout, or I'm not giving up Shohei Otani, or I'm not giving up, my starting closer to do this. I can't take that risk.
No, yeah. And I kind of look at it and I'm just kind of like, man,
I'm putting all this money on the line. I'm putting all this game
it's
on
a
the
lot.
line. I could lose my job because I don't make the playoff. I mean, if the Angels were to have an injury to one of their two superstars and don't make the playoffs again, they're talk about a team who is
They're already like on the brink,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
know.
Like they've had Trout and Otani for all the years. Trout has been in the league now for what, a decade, and
Yeah.
they've made the playoffs once, and they got swept when he made it. Like, talk about a guy who's the best player in the game and has no postseason success.
This is a
Like,
contract year for Otani.
yes,
Like, that's a big deal. So if he
yes,
gets
and he goes
hurt,
over to the World Baseball Classic and tears a rotator cuff or has Tommy John. No way am I doing that. No way am I doing
and
that.
especially I wouldn't be doing it if I was Otani. I'd be like, I
I
don't know about this because
yeah,
if I get hurt,
totally agree.
it's gonna affect my
But
money.
but with something about when you offer a guy to play for his
Yeah, that's
homeland,
true.
that just speaks. I mean, these guys play. Team USA is not the best anymore
No.
because all the Major League Baseball players are going to play for all these. They're not even the favorites right now. I mean, they
Yeah.
made the quarterfinals, and they may not win tomorrow night to make the semis. It's going to be a very knockdown drag out against Puerto Rico to even try to even or Cuba or to
Yeah.
make the deal. They're not the favorites. So
So
it,
to give everybody an idea, so far we're in the second round,
yes,
right? And USA plays Venezuela
yes,
tomorrow
Venezuela.
in Miami.
Yeah,
And then
and talk
Cuba.
about a home game for Venezuela.
Oh yeah, Miami.
I mean,
So then you got Cuba beat Australia, so they're in semifinal round
yep,
one, or semifinal one, I guess.
yes,
And then on the other side, in terms of the second round, Puerto Rico, Mexico will be battling each other today,
yes.
and it should be on. Actually, it's been on for at least an hour or two. So they're actually playing now.
And the one loss that the USA has was to Mexico in the pool
Right.
play.
Yeah. So yeah. So in terms of all this, so Japan beat Italy.
Yep. So Cuba and
Understandably.
Japan are already in the. Japan
Yeah.
has not lost a game yet. They went
Yeah.
4-0 in round robin play, and they're 1-0 now, and so they haven't lost yet. So Cuba will play the winner of USA
and
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
And then Japan will play the winner of Mexico, Puerto Rico, which is
Yes.
going on now. And then USA's game is
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's kind of, I mean, I'm surprised the Dominican Republic got knocked out
So am I.
because they're
That was
always they're always really good.
That game was what you had inside, and again, Francisco Lindor hits an inside the park home run. Uh, you know, um, and you got guys out here running around and diving through deals and running through stop signs. It's amazing what these guys do when they put their homeland jersey on. It's amazing.
Well, I will say this much. It's good to see it because you have in an era where you see, like, for example, the NBA All-Star game is an absolute joke.
Yeah,
Like it's literally Harlem Globetrotters, okay, and the score is going to be 140 to whatever because everybody's just dunking, and it's just this showboating thing, right? They're actually, you usually see the emotions, and they actually want to perform, and so it's fun. It's exciting. I mean, it definitely kicks the season off. That's for sure. Even though they only have this every 4 years or something like that.
Every 2 years or
2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, it's fun to watch. It's just I worry about the injuries. So
Oh, absolutely. The injuries are the biggest concern. The biggest concern,
yeah.
and then they
And
were a concern before, and now they've happened this year, and so yeah.
And are they playing with the new stuff now? Are they playing with the rules
As far
of
as I
Major
know,
League Baseball?
With
the clock and the bigger base
and the base and everything like that. As far as I know, international may not adopt those rules, but I haven't seen. The USA games have been at 10 o'clock at night, so I haven't been able to watch to see if they have a pitch clock or anything like that. But
the good thing is tomorrow that game's at 6 your
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So and it's Saturday, so I don't care. Even if it was at 10, I could watch it. But when it's on Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, and I have to be up at 1:30 in the morning, it's not a deal. So all right, I believe that's all we get to our what's in our locker segment. So, what's in your locker?
Uh, gearing up for the move. Still, doing these last little bits of whatever, and kind of trying to relax before it a little bit. Working on a few things for this. Just trying to kind of get the hang of something that I've been a software or whatever that I'm looking at, so that you and Brian could probably function it pretty easily.
Okay.
So doing that, try and design a new intro.
Okay.
Just a slight, I think because I want to do something minimal a little bit, and just something that can easily flow into to each videos quickly, or easier.
Mm-hmm.
Still have some transition stuff I'm working on that, and yeah, just little things like that. Brian, typically he starts out with some kind of like subtle music.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have a solution to that, because he's playing it from his phone, I'm pretty
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
So I have a solution to that. Some copyright free stuff. So
Yeah.
that'll
And
be
that's what he does. He goes and Google's copyright, free, music, and just plays whatever that he
yeah.
finds. But he's
This
playing it
one,
from his
he'll
phone
he'll literally be playing
through
as
the
part of
backdrop.
audio.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So that'll be cool. And then I'll once I figure out a few things with that, I'll show Brian a few tricks, and he could do some edits and stuff like that himself as well. So
There you go.
it's gonna be interesting. I'm doing these little bitty things here and there to kind of mess around with that. I have a couple tutorials I wanted to go into and work on to mess with the logo. So that stuff is coming. It's taken a while because I got so much stuff on my plate.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
that. I got work. I help my wife's writers group with some of their book stuff. So I've been doing that kind of stuff left and right. But it's getting close with this one. So with the show and stuff. So that stuff is coming. Ready for baseball.
Very ready for baseball.
Ready for baseball. Excited to see how this season will turn out for my team. You're a Giants fan, right? So
Yep.
so you'll be paying attention there. Brian is stoked for the Rangers.
As he should be. They made a lot of solid moves.
They made some moves. I am worried a little bit about the pitching.
I am.
Especially that pitcher, because he can't
Yes.
stay healthy.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree to give them that much money, and then he shows up to spring training and hasn't thrown a pitch yet, and he's hurt.
Oh.
It sounds like he'll be ready for the season.
Yeah.
But
we'll see, because
we
you
will.
push him long enough, and
I just don't see the guy when you give him that kind of money and that kind of contract is the guy that you want to make 30 starts, and I just don't see Jacob DeGrom making 30 starts.
He definitely is going to have
I don't.
pitch. He's going to have a pitch
Yeah.
limit.
Pitch
for
limit,
sure.
shelf limit. He's not going 8 innings. He's not going to go 130 pitches. It's just not happening.
No.
And so you hope these guys bridge the gap to what you have. The Rangers have a great farm system in the pitching department in Leiter and Rocker. Leiter has not started real well down in the minor leagues. He has not looked great. Kumar Rocker has looked a little bit better, but he also is coming off of shoulder surgery and everything like that, so he's going to have a limit to start the season. So there's that.
I'm ready for baseball. That's my
that's my sport. Yeah, that's where I love the NFL, everything like that. But I bleed baseball. I could talk about baseball year round.
And so that's kind of what I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think normally I subscribe to the At Bat or whatever. So that I can watch, because I mean, the good thing about, even if you subscribe to like the small one, you don't have to watch the freaking ads,
right?
Because that's just horrible. And if you don't, and if you just subscribe to the minimum one, you can actually. And the cool part is, I like doing this, listening to it. Like if I'm driving and running errands and stuff.
When I'm at work and they play a day game, I can just pipe it through the stereo, and I'm good to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
so that's cool. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. I'm ready to see what Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
What Aaron Judge does, and yeah, Aaron Rodgers playing baseball.
When it sounds to me like they're gonna move him around and
Yeah,
give Stanton some more time in the outfield.
it's probably gonna be a mixture of it. They have, the Martian, Dominguez. This guy, they have him still, and he's been racking it in preseason and spring training. So I'm very excited in
Yeah.
him, and I think that we're gonna see this dude come up pretty soon. And if he does, he will relieve some of that. He will relieve some of that outfield with Judge and Stanton, and you can mix him in more often and DH some of these other guys and mix
Yeah.
and match. And that's what they did with
That's
Judge last year.
never a
That's what
bad
they
thing.
and
Never a
that's what
bad
they
thing.
and that's
Take
and
some
that
wear and tear off the body and just let him hit.
and that's what they did
And
to Judge last year, and
yeah,
Judge played most of the year. So that was
yeah, it was
that's
his first healthy season.
yeah. So I think, in terms of that, I'm excited to see some of I've seen a couple of the young guys coming around, and it makes me excited. The Yankees are completely stacked on shortstop. I don't know what they're gonna do. Um, they have like 3 shortstops that are awesome, and 2 of them are in AAA.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna end up
All
trading
right.
somebody, but yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm excited to watch some of the young talent stuff. What about you? What's going on in your locker? Uh, Come back. Connection dropped. Okay, so Craig has stalled. He's probably going to come back in here in a second. Gonna wait. And so yeah, other than that, baseball is what I've been been paying attention to. I haven't watched a whole lot of anything. I've been playing some Madden, unfortunately, and there's supposedly a new football game coming out soon that I'm kind of excited for. I told Brian about it. It's got a little more realistic physics and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of that with a million and one other things, work and everything else. So I'm just gonna wait. Craig, he's back. He's back. Okay. I've said all my
Yeah.
soliloquies, and then now it's your turn.
All right. Well, a lot of sports this weekend. You got the gonna watch Team USA. The Stars play Calgary tomorrow night, and I'm big into bowling. And the Tournament of Champions is this weekend, and they have done something a little different. Normally, it's the top 5 make the television show, and they have one day. Well, now it's the top 17, and so it's tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. We're just bowling for 9 hours, and 17 is trying to make his way all the way up to 1. And the guy that I follow is EJ Tackett, and he has led wire to wire from every tournament he's bowled in this season, and he's done it again this week. He averaged about 230 and bowled 38 games or 42 games, and he's leading the Tournament of Champions. So we're gonna watch that. And just I don't have to work tomorrow for the first time, and I can't remember how long. And so we're gonna do some yard work and just hang out for the weekend and just enjoy the time off. So that's about it. I'm ready for baseball to start. I'm ready for the Giants to see what they can do. I think Kapler has got his work cut out for him. I think you talk about make or break. I think if they don't have a successful season, that Gabe Kapler could be seeing some walking papers in San Francisco. So we will see what happened there. They had, the crazy off season with Judge and then Correa, and so we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But that's about it for that. I'm going to just watch sports and do some yard work.
One other quick thing. I didn't know Mason Crosby was still in NHL. I thought he was out.
No,
I thought he was out.
He should be. He had the concussions early in his career, and then he had a real bad one and missed the playoffs last year. Missed the last few games of the playoffs last year, and that is the oldest roster between Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Those guys are like in their walkers, skating up and down the ice.
Oh man,
yeah.
I saw that the other day, and I was like,
yeah,
"What?
Like that can't be. What is Mario Lemieux coming back? Like, what are we doing?" Absolutely. I can't believe it. Yeah, that roster is very old.
Wow, that's crazy."
So, yeah.
Oh, all right.
So the Stars are trying to hold on to their 1 seed, and oh boy, college basketball is getting interesting. The number 1 seed's about to lose to the 16. Purdue's about to lose, about to blow up some brackets. So, all right, well, have a good weekend, and always remember,
Stay outspoken.
yes, sir.